What the San Francisco 49ers have to do to defeat the Carolina Panthers on Monday Night Football. Keys to victory. And one of those keys, trying to slow down phenom rookie Tetairoa McMillan. What about the 49ers second-year wide receiver? And a whole lot more in today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Coach Crocky. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love our everydayers. Thanks for hanging with us, and thanks for making us now the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime, and right now, download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $20 off your first ticket purchase. All right, Croc, little keys to victory here. It's a little different vibe since the 49ers are playing Monday instead of Sunday, so we're going to have one more episode here to talk a little bit more about this matchup and really know exactly who's going to be in and out, and have some final practice reports here before that Monday Night Football game, and maybe some notes about the Sunday that was in Week 12 in the NFL as the 49ers and Panthers close out the Week 12 part of the schedule. Kyle Shanahan was asked, Croc, about Tetairoa McMillan, the budding star wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers. He's 6th in the NFL as a rookie in receiving yards right now, and really coming on, had his best game as Bryce Young did as NFL players just last week coming into this game. So the Panthers are coming in hot throwing the football, and Tetairoa McMillan showing all the things that the Panthers thought they were getting when they drafted him number 8 overall. And he's got obviously unbelievable size and athleticism and ball skills. But one of the things that was like, okay, you're a 6'5" wide receiver. We've seen a lot of those guys come into the NFL and be like, okay, not quite the route runner that you might want. He's shown that as well. They're running. He's running routes on the outside. They're moving him into the slot a little bit, as teams do with their number 1 wide receiver. He's already budding into that true number 1 guy in the NFL crowd.
No, he's been awesome. And one of the names that really popped up, there were a couple, right? T. Higgins, that type of long, lanky type of receiver. Another one was Drake London. Well, I'd say if you look at kind of the way that T. Higgins and Drake London's careers have started, and if you're comparing Tetairoa McMillan to those guys, I'd say that, you know what, man, that I'd feel good about that if I was Ted. And he's been all of that and some. And a lot of times we see receivers kind of hit the ground running when they have a terrific receiver, quarterback that they're throwing to. I'd say McMillan might have made the transition for Bryce Young a little easier as he's kind of getting to the groove of things as an NFL quarterback. So he's a guy that definitely can be a problem for the 49ers. The Niners on the outside don't have these big, long cornerbacks. So I'm curious, like, this would be my first time truly watching McMillan and just see, like, how does he win? How does he beat cornerbacks? How does he run against certain coverages? Have teams bracketed him? Have they started doing that yet? Have they started game planning for him? Curious to see what the 49ers do.
I almost think you have to, because what else scares you on the Carolina Panthers roster? They've run the ball really well this year. They really haven't thrown the ball all that well, except for to Tetairoa McMillan. And really Bryce Young has not had a very good season until last week, where he kind of went crazy all of a sudden. It's like, oh my God, did the switch just completely come on for him? Or was that sort of a blip on the radar? And you look at a 49ers defense that's a little bit banged up and how they match up. And our guy, Dwayne Board, 4-time Super Bowl champion, was talking about how, when it comes to a game like that and an obvious weapon on the outside, you got to put a cap on him. As Deion Sanders used to say in the locker room, put a cap on him. So, bracket him, whatever it takes. And I wonder if that's the way the 49ers go in this thing. And do you think that there's a certain matchup? Do you go, would you prefer Renardo Green, a little bit lengthier than Deommodore Lenoir on Tetairoa McMillan? Do you think Deommodore Lenoir with his physicality, maybe a little chirping at him as a rookie, might be the way to go? Do you keep somebody over the top? I have a feeling like every week we've seen Upton Stout's going to get tested. And Upton Stout, I don't know if there's a bigger discrepancy between height for a corner and a wide receiver in the NFL than Upton Stout on Tetairoa McMillan, 5'8.5" versus 6'5", right? And so that's probably a matchup that the Carolina Panthers are going to try to exploit. But I mean, it wouldn't be a new thing for Upton Stout. Every team comes in and says, look, if Upton Stout's on the field, he's a rookie. We're going to go at him. If he's not on the field, that means they're in base, and that means Luke Gifford's on the field. We're going to go at him. And so I expect more of that from opposing offenses.
One thing I haven't seen the 49ers do, really, I mean, whether it's Robert Saleh or whoever, they haven't had that one corner truly follow guys around. Seen it a little bit here and there. I remember Travarius Ward following DK Metcalf around for a game, and they did that a couple times, but they haven't really kind of lived in that. So with that being said, because the 49ers aren't doing a whole lot of traveling with their cornerbacks, if I am the Carolina Panthers, I'd say, all right, we're going to put Tetairoa McMillan in the slot, and we're going to see what the 49ers do. Are they going to change up what they've traditionally done? Heck, we saw Devontae Adams in the slot lined up against Malik Mustafa, where he kind of cooked him for a touchdown. So 49ers haven't really been doing a whole lot of adjusting their defensive backs and going matchups. As far as attacking any cornerback on the 49ers, definitely be Upton Stout. Now, I will say this with Upton Stout. Terrific, has a lot of ability. Really tough, hard worker. And he was on a podcast with Richard Sherman, and he was asking Richard Sherman, when did it click for you? Like, when did the NFL, because the NFL is mental, and they'll tell you 90% mental, 10% physical. All right. But when did that mental aspect of it click for you? And Richard Sherman had a good response. He said, we had young guys that he came into the league, essentially with Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, Mike Maxwell, all those guys, they were kind of younger and kind of came in all around the same time. And he said their practices were so competitive. Everybody was trying so hard to, be better or not let the other guys down with the young group that they had, that it kind of sped up their learning curve. So maybe that's the answer for 49ers guys. Don't get too comfortable. Every practice you should be competing and doing everything you can to be great. I'm not sure if the 49ers practices are that competitive, but if so, that would help maybe some of the things that Upton Stout is going through, or that he's definitely aware he's not playing to his full potential right now.
Yeah, definitely a key for the 49ers. Don't let Tetairoa McMillan go crazy, run wild on you. Hopefully you don't get too many one-on-ones with a safety in the red zone or anything like that, like we saw with the Rams against that 49ers defense. So that's a big one, and I'm interested to see how they match up there. One thing I kind of want to put to bed though, Croc, and I know Kyle Shanahan was asked about it, and Ted McMillan, he's had some glowing things to say and said, yeah, we evaluated him and we loved him in the draft. I don't think the 49ers, I don't think he was part of the 49ers plan, right? I don't know if Ted McMillan would be a San Francisco 49er right now. Maybe if he falls to 11, there's other guys that aren't there, and he would be the number one player on their board at that point. But Kyle said he expected him to go much, well before they drafted. And I think the 49ers were looking so hard at defensive linemen that I don't think it was realistic. And I don't think that part of, I think fans want to go there and be like, oh, the 49ers missed out. They could have had Tetairoa McMillan. Maybe they should have traded up for Tetairoa McMillan. That just wasn't something that was going to happen. So I kind of want to crush that idea that the 49ers somehow missed out on Ted McMillan if he turns into just a complete superstar wide receiver. Should they have traded up to get him if he becomes the next Jerry Rice? Yeah, sure, obviously. But I don't think that was the case, and that wasn't in the cards for the 49ers this year. They had so much work to do on the defensive line. Quick note, though, after seeing Walter Nolan last week with the Cardinals, who was really good, he's only played 2 games so far at the Cardinals, but he's looked like the real deal in those 2 games. If there's a player where you look back and you think, man, maybe they go D-tackle in the first round and Nick Scorton, the Carolina Panthers defensive end, maybe that was a better combo for the 49ers in round 1, round 2 with defensive tackle, for using hindsight, because, and there's a lot of reasons why Walter Nolan wasn't taken at 11 for the 49ers. But he does look like a really good football player. And I understand why the 49ers did not take him. But if you're doing the hindsight thing, Walter Nolan might end up being the guy, right? Oh man, he was actually too good. The 49ers shouldn't have passed up on him at 11.
Yeah, Nolan was the guy that we talked about a lot just in his ability, and he was one of the guys that really, jumped out. 3-tech guy, and I think 49er fans, us included, really wanted that edge rusher, a guy that had the upside to develop into a terrific edge rusher, but I think he was always going to be a guy that you would miss out on. I think it softened the blow of missing him not grabbing him when the 49ers got Alfred Collins in the second round. So it's like, okay, well, they were able to get their interior guy and the edge rusher. But, it's a work in progress. And, it's hard to grade guys after or halfway through one season. Still a lot to be played for these guys. But obviously the injuries and then what we've seen from Alfred Collins right now, you would like a little bit more.
I mean, Walter Nolan was one of the more popular names in my mock drafts to the 49ers, but there was just like the character stuff, and there was enough question. He was, 5 schools in 6 years, right? Dating all the way back to high school and bouncing around different colleges. And it was like, there was something there. It was like, I just don't think the 49ers are going to take that swing on a guy. And so I wasn't shocked at all that. And obviously my final mock draft, my predictive mock draft, I had Mykel Williams there because I just thought, and again, it's funny because 2 weeks ago, Mykel Williams had played 10 weeks and played some pretty good football, and nobody was talking about Walter Nolan because he hadn't played yet because he was injured too. And so it's funny how quickly those types of things change, and we'll follow the career of all these guys, Tet McMillan and Williams and Walter Nolan for a very long time. And so I'm excited to see how all these guys develop in the NFL. We talked about Tetairoa McMillan, Croc. What about the 49ers' second-year wide receiver, Ricky Pearsall? Got back last week, did not have much of an impact, was targeted one time. Is this a Ricky Pearsall game on Monday Night Football prime time? We'll get into that and a whole lot more next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks couldn't be more fun, and it couldn't be simpler to play. And when you make decisions every day, okay, you could be right, you could be wrong. But on PrizePicks, being right gets you paid. So don't miss on any of the excitement this season, whether it's NFL, NBA, or both. There's no better time to jump in on the action. And if you haven't tried it yet, PrizePicks is simple. You pick more or less on at least 2 player stat projections, and if you get them right, you win. It's that easy. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup. You can make as many lineups as you want, and you can play anywhere PrizePicks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. And the new stacks feature is a game changer. Christian McCaffrey, you want to go rushing yards and receiving yards, right? How about you're going NBA? You want to go Steph Curry? You go points, threes, and assists all in the same lineup. Stack them any way you want. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. I've told you all about my Doer jeans. I love my Doer jeans. They're so versatile. They're so comfortable, and they look phenomenal. And Doer are the pioneers of blending technical innovation with everyday clothing. They invented the original performance denim. I love my performance denim jeans. I love my no sweat pants. Croc and I the other day talked about the Doer shirts that are phenomenal. And I had to check it and see if I was wearing mine right now. I was actually wearing it a little bit earlier today. The Doer shirts are fantastic, look great, and feel great. Doer combines classic jeanswear style with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear. It is the best of both worlds, and you can try them on for yourself in San Francisco, Hayes Valley, new store at 567 Hayes Street. Pick up a pair for yourself or as an amazing holiday gift and mention our promo code LOCKEDONSF in store to get 15% off your first order, or check them out online at shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF for 15% off. That's shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF. All right, Croc, keys to victory is one of the keys for the 49ers getting Ricky Pearsall going in this game. On one hand, you feel like, okay, he slow played it, got back into action last week. He's healthy. He had a full couple of weeks of practice now. Maybe he wasn't a big part of the game plan because early in the week when Kyle Shanahan was making the game plan last week, he hadn't seen Ricky Pearsall go through the practices of the week yet, right? And so maybe you could make the argument, this week now he can be a bigger part of the game plan because Kyle knows he's healthy, knows he's going to play. He was a full participant in Wednesdays and Thursdays practice sessions. So you're good there. Is this Ricky Pearsall re-breakout week? Because he was phenomenal to start the season.
So in the chat, Howdy 49ers says Pearsall was getting bracketed in the Cards game. They really didn't want him to catch the ball. And I'll say this about getting guys bracketed. I think if there's any team where it's super easy to bracket a receiver, it's the 49ers. Because a guy like Ricky Pearsall or a guy like Brandon Ayuk, they just leave them there and on the outside or on the slide, and they allow guys to bracket them. Where's the motions at? Where's moving the guy? Where's stacking some of their alignment at the line of scrimmage, making it more difficult to bracket guys? There are a lot of things you could do if you care to get the guy the ball that would, free him up a little bit more. But if you don't, and you said, well, yeah, go ahead and bracket him, because if you're bracketing him, now that opens up things for George Kittle, and then all right. And essentially 49ers are telling you, hey, pick your poison, because we're fine with not throwing the ball to Ricky Pearsall. We're only throwing the ball to him 2-3 times. We'll throw the ball to Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle. Okay, Juwan Jennings will eat. So I think that's what we're seeing right there, where, hey, go ahead, teams. Go ahead and game plan around one of our receivers. The other guys will definitely make an impact.
JC Horn, too. I remember talking NFL draft back in the day. That was one of your guys, was JC Horn back in, was that 2021? That was the same year with Surtain, right?
Yep.
That was going to be, that's right, because we were going to be arguing about JC Horn versus the tackle Slater at pick 12, right? That's the way that draft was going. And then all of a sudden the Niners say, nope, we're trading up to number 3. He's like, oh my God, they're going to get a quarterback. Okay. Even though they had Jimmy Garoppolo, because we were gearing up for some battles about JC Horn versus, Surtain. What about the wide receivers? What about, what if, whoever falls to the Niners at quarterback at pick 12? And so that whole draft the coverage of that draft got turned on its ear on March 26th of 2021 when the 49ers made that trade up. But JC Horn, I know, was one of your favorites. And so if Ricky Pearsall's seen a lot of JC Horn, maybe that's not the way to beat this Carolina Panthers football team. And Croc, I look at their linebackers that I think are suspect, and they're banged up on top of it. Christian Roseboom, doubtful. Trevin Wallace. I think that's where this defense can be had. And you look at their defensive line, Derek Brown, big old Ashawn Robinson, Tershawn Wharton. They're a much improved run defense team. I think we're going to see not that different of a football game than last week. If I had to guess, it's going to be a lot of McCaffrey, a lot of Kittle in the passing game, going at those linebackers, probably less of Pearsall. And this might not be the best team to run the football against either, Croc. That's just the way I'm looking at it on paper. So probably not the game to put Pearsall in your PrizePicks lineups.
Yeah, especially not if JC Horn is going to be lined up on them. I mean, that's a big physical cornerback who brings a lot of energy. I love JC Horn in the process. Had him as CB1 in that class, and Surtain winning Defensive Player of the Year kind of, throws a wrench in my argument. But JC Horn coming back being the highest paid cornerback in the NFL. So both guys clearly really good, and JC Horn, I think with the way that Ricky Pearsall plays, it could be a bad matchup for Pearsall.
Yeah, I wonder.
He wants to be able to win space and get to certain spots, and JC Horn is a guy that has the aggressiveness and can run step for step with him.
Let's say the Panthers were a team that would maybe bracket one guy, then go singled up somewhere else. Do you match physicality with physicality, put JC Horn and what that matchup might look like with Juwan Jennings, and then have, someone else looking after Ricky Pearsall? Maybe that could be an interesting way to match it up with the 49ers. But I just looking at where, if you're Kyle Shanahan, you try to get in the mind of Kyle Shanahan, and he looks at this team, he's watching tape, he's like, well, I'm going to go after these linebackers. I just feel like that's the way to go. So I think more McCaffrey, more Kittle in the passing game than Pearsall is the way I envision it. Can the 49ers run the football is my question, because that's always going to help everything on that 49ers offense.
I think running the football is going to help everything, right? So in the chat, we got Rick Diaz commenting, and man, you guys that are in the live chat right now, continue to fire off some of your thoughts, because we're able to touch on those as well. Rick Diaz says, are you guys watching the same team week after week like I am? Why are we worrying about wearing out the defense being out there all the time? So essentially, 49ers defense on the field all the time. We're talking about Ricky Pearsall, right? But what's going to help a defense? What's a defense's best friend, especially a defense that's been struggling to get off the field? It is the run game. 49ers last week got the run game going. It was a combination of McCaffrey and Robinson. They got to keep that going again. And I like the kind of the workload for both of those guys was about 13 carries to 8 carries. I could see about 15 for Christian McCaffrey. That's about right where I would have him. About 9, 10 for Robinson, and maybe a few other from someone else. But, you want the 49ers. I think Kyle Shanahan to tell you, hey, I would love to run the ball 40 times. I think realistically, the 49ers can get to about 30 yards with a good split between McCaffrey and Robinson. That's probably the best thing for the 49ers defense.
Speaking of workload, Rick in the chat, always high workload player. I think checking in from Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. So appreciate the folks hanging out with us live. Appreciate the folks everywhere you are subscribing on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts and making us your number one listen. Next, Croc, we got to talk about the run game on the other side of the ball. Maybe number one key to victory for the San Francisco 49ers, stopping the juggernaut that is Rico Dowdle. Next. This episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Gametime. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, prices jumping at checkout. It's super frustrating. It's why I use Gametime. It's the app that gives the advantage back to fans. And I never buy tickets to anything, a sporting event, NFL game, college football game, basketball game, concert tickets, comedy shows. I never buy a ticket until I check Gametime first. Gametime is fast. It's easy. It's backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. I hate the hidden fees when buying tickets. And so I love the Gametime app, and you can get some phenomenal deals on last minute tickets as well. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Rico Dowdle is ripping off 200-yard rushing games. I think he's fourth in the NFL in rushing right now, 5 yards per carry for Rico Dowdle. He's making plays in the passing game as well. A smart football player too. Did you see? I talked about this a little bit with our guy, Julian Council, the host of Locked On Panthers. And it's not the first time this season that he's gone to the sideline and be like, look, man, I swear this is there if you call it. They call it, boom, he hits it, helps him get down and score the game win, make the game-winning score in overtime for the Carolina Panthers. So Rico Dowdle kind of going crazy this year, Croc. I never would have expected it, but Monday Night Football, playoffs on the line, Rico Dowdle's the guy you got to stop.
So I didn't know the situation. I didn't know that was in overtime, but I definitely saw the play. It was him calling his shot, telling his coach, hey, it's there. Hey, it's there. He said, hey, if we see this look, let's take this shot on this play. And, man, they dumped it off to him, and he did the rest. And whatever he thought he was seeing, it was there. And I like the coach. Hey, if they're mugged up, I don't like it. If they're off, hey, we're going. And they did it, and it turned into a touchdown. So football, like I said, 90% mental. These guys are playing 3 steps ahead, whether it's the coaches or the players.
A good point. Could be a short game. Could be another one of those quick games. Both teams wanting to run the football. And does that keep it into a low-scoring affair, Croc? I'm a little bit surprised the 49ers are favored by 7 points at home. I wasn't surprised that the 49ers are favored, but a 7-point spread is pretty big this day and age in the NFL. And the Carolina Panthers have done a pretty good job because mostly a lot of people not expecting a lot of them, but it's 6-5 right now. They've covered a lot of those spreads. And so I don't know if I would bet on the 49ers winning by 7 points, but I do think they are going to win this football game. And I like the way that this one could go. One question I have, Brock, about the 49ers and the 49ers defense, whether it's defending the run or the pass, but mostly talking about defending the pass. And we saw this last week with, it's kind of the bend, don't break solid defense, especially after all the injuries. And we've seen that quite a bit this year. Is it too much to ask when you don't have a lead like the 49ers had against the Arizona Cardinals, right? Because you can't just say, sure, just keep everything in front of you. Let them complete 47 passes. Let them complete more passes than have ever been completed in a regular season game. Well, that's fine. We're still going to win this game. You can't do that if it's a tie football game, right? And if it's a close football game. And if it is, like Howdy 49er said in the chat, if it is more of a grinded out football game, both teams trying to run the football, a short game, that means it's within one score. Can you play that soft on defense? And might the 49ers start to run into some problems in some of these closer football games?
Yeah, I think with the 49ers and where they are, you look at the Carolina Panthers, it feels like a team that the 49ers should be able to get, just a 2-score lead on and kind of smother them a little bit for the rest of the game and kind of hold that. But when the 49ers have as many injuries as they do to the defense, you just never know how these games are going to go. You got Brock Purdy back. Run game looks like it might be hidden. You got George Kittle back. Getting Ricky Pearsall back. Feel like the 49ers are starting to get their offense back. That's going to really apply a lot of pressure to these opposing teams, especially teams like Carolina. I don't anticipate Carolina being able to keep up with this potent 49ers offense. But the defense can't just be giving up stuff. And that's what we've seen from them. Very little resistance from the 49ers defense. They had two things really go in their favor. Now, I felt like busted that Cardinals game wide open. Obviously, the opening kickoff, returning that to the 2-yard line. The interception by Diamador Lenore, returning that to about the 12, 13-yard line. Do the 49ers need those kind of plays to bust this open? Or can the 49ers just be so good offensively that they do it? I think it'd be a good test for that. Beat a team the way that you're supposed to. They've done that in recent years when they played the teams like the Carolina Panthers, but they have to do it this year while still ailing on the defensive side of the ball.
So put it in keys to victory terms, score enough points to where you don't have to worry about it on the defensive side of the ball. Right, Croc? Yeah, I like that one. And I do have confidence that this 49ers offense can start to put up points and more points and more points. Seeing how well Brock Purdy played last week, I think that was a big sigh of relief for 49ers fans. Looking healthy. Okay, there's Brock looking like Brock Purdy. You get Ricky Pearsall back, then you have to use him last week. If you need him, he's out there. Can you start running the ball a little bit better because you've got a little bit more threat on the outside with George Kittle back doing a better job? They have run the ball a little bit better. You get Brian Robinson involved as well, and you start looking at a lot of weapons and an offense that you might have expected to see more of this season for the 49ers. And then who knows, maybe even some week the 49ers could get Brandon Ayuk back as well on the outside at wide receiver and checking in and helping out there. Croc, any more keys to victory before we go here for the Monday Nighter with the Carolina Panthers and the San Francisco 49ers?
Yeah, I want to highlight the other side of what I just said, right? Talked about the offense scoring so many points that the Panthers can't keep up. But how about the defense, man? Hey, can we go back-to-back weeks getting an interception? When's the last time that's happened for the 49ers? Take the ball away. And there's certain teams, I feel like Carolina Panthers are one of them. They turn the ball over early in this game, they might melt a little bit. So take the ball away early in this game.
One more that I forgot about. New kicker, Croc. If it is a grind out game, if it is a close game, if it's one of those ugly 19-16 games, it's going to come down to a Matt Gay field goal potentially. He's the guy that won the tryout. They brought in multiple kickers over 2 days. Matt Gay, former Washington Commander. And before that, something I was reminded of that I did not remember, former Los Angeles Ram kicked game-winning field goal to help beat the 49ers in the NFC Championship game not too long ago. And he was asked about it in the locker room, and he's like, yeah, I was hoping nobody was going to bring that one up. So, look, all is forgiven if you can help the 49ers get back there, right, with some big kicks, Matt Gay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he doesn't regret it. He has a Super Bowl ring. 49ers been chasing one for a lot of years now.
Yeah, he's like ear to ear smiling about it, saying, I was hoping you weren't going to break that up, but I'm not giving that one back at all.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone,
a little surprised that the 49ers didn't go with Carlson, though.
Yeah, just the familiarity, knowing he made some kicks. I wonder do you think that that Monday Night Football had anything to do with it? A veteran kicker that's just attempted a lot more kicks in the NFL, big stage Monday Night Football. Do you think that played into their thought process at all?
Yeah, I can see that.
By that, yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of reasons why he might have had a little bit of an edge. Just a more experienced kicker in the NFL is the way they decided to go with veteran.
I think this is the way to go right here.
Yeah.
By G's Freak in the chat, he says, "I hope we don't have to lean on the kicker." Yeah. I think that's the way to go right there.
Key to victory.
Remember last time the 49ers had to lean on one? Well, not the last time, but some years ago, 49ers having a terrific season. They're playing Seattle, primetime television, and was it McLaughlin, whatever his name was, but they put him in a position to where it's like, hey, you got to win this game right here with this field goal, and he shanked it so bad. I still have not seen a kicker miss as bad as he did. He kicked it all the way to like the tunnel, which was like far to the left. So yeah, I'd rather them not bring in a guy that they're not expecting to be around and have to lean on him to make the kick to win the game.
Key to victory. Don't let it come down to a field goal. Let us know what is your key to victory in the YouTube comments. Subscribe while you're there. And thanks for making us your first listen every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And thanks for making us the #1 sports podcast network. We'll talk to you one more time before Monday Night Football. Some thoughts on the weekend that is the NFL and all the Sunday matchups and the Thursday nighter that's about to kick off as well. So talk to you then right here, Locked On 49ers.